Good morning, it's Angela here. I thought I'd move outside today for today's video. A couple of minutes ago the sun was shining brightly and now the clouds are starting to come across. So hopefully there's no rain in the clouds. I think they're just kind of going across the sun. So the sun will be back shortly. So I'm just waiting as people come onto the live call. If as you get in here, please just type in the comments, just say hi, let me know you're here. Use the hashtag Thrive in Menopause just so that I know that you're here. Say hello, give me a wave, whatever it is. There will be lots. I know there's lots of people who are watching the recordings, but I'll just give it a couple of minutes as everyone comes on live on the call. I can see that there's people coming on there now, so just say hello. As I said, I decided to actually do this this live recording outside today, so hopefully there's not too much background noise going on. I was kind of getting a little bit antsy being inside. We had beautiful weather on the weekend, and then yesterday it was really cold and yucky. Hi Susan, how are you? So yeah, I always like to get outside as much as possible. Behind me is our new veggie garden that we're building at the moment. My husband's off work at the moment, so he's building a sustainable, eco-friendly, bio whatever veggie garden at the moment. So yeah, that's what's behind me. And right over the very far corner, if you look this way, if you can see it, is actually that's DY Beach. So it's just in the distance. Hi Susan. Right, so I'm going to get going, and we are up to day 2 of the Thrive in Menopause, and today I'm going to talk to you about a few things that really impact the way you feel, particularly when it comes to some specific symptoms. We're going to be covering off your adrenal, so stress. We're going to be talking about liver, diet, lifestyle, and environmental. So there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to try and cram all of this into the next 15-20 minutes or so. I can see Justine just joined us. Hello Justine, how are you? So yesterday in the video I spoke to you a little bit about the hormones, and one of the hormones I did mention was cortisol. And cortisol is our stress hormone, and what I mentioned yesterday is one of the reasons but why women within the Western world seem to be more impacted by this change in hormones that happens at menopause is primarily to do with the amount of stress that we've been under, or the ability of our adrenal glands to be able to keep up with the change in hormones, because the adrenal glands are designed to actually create enough reproductive hormone, so that we don't have a significant drop when our ovaries stop producing eggs. But because we're all burnt out, our adrenal glands can't really keep up with these changes. The body will always go to the point of biggest risk to health. So with the adrenal glands, it must produce the adrenal hormones, cortisol, because that's what keeps you alive. Reproductive hormones don't keep you alive. So if the adrenal glands have got a bit of a choice as to what it's going to produce when it doesn't have enough resources, it's always going to produce your stress hormones. And stress hormones actually create a lot of the symptoms that we experience. In particular, one of the biggest symptoms that is caused by adrenal stress is hot flushes. So people just think that hot flushes is part of going through menopause. In fact, it's actually a reaction to cortisol when there's not enough reproductive hormone to buffer that. So if you actually track or keep an eye on your hot flushes, you will probably find that they are worse when you've been very, very stressed in the day. And night sweats, if you've had a really bad stressful day, you'll have more night sweats at night. If you're in a very stressful period, hot flushes will be worse. If you can manage to get all of your stress under control and you get the cortisol levels down, the stress hormones down, hot flushes go. Now, a few years ago, I had they probably weren't severe hot flushes, but they were, they'd be they'd come on at certain times. I'd be standing there and all of a sudden I was bathed in sweat and dripping wet. But I was also highly stressed at that stage. I suffered burnout at the beginning of last year, even though that I taught women how to avoid burnout. But, you know, we teach what we need to learn. And I had to burn out for the third time severely to realize that I had to change the way that I lived my life. And part of this was because I was going through menopause. I now realize is like it was all the hormonal changes and having all that really high level of stress on top of it made everything worse. So I knew I had to change, and then as I changed and I worked on reducing the stress in my life on a physical, emotional and a spiritual level, then I actually found that the symptoms just kind of disappeared. You know, occasionally, yeah, I'll still get, I'll wake up with night sweats, and I'll tell you in a minute why that happens, because there's something else that I do that causes this, and you're probably doing it as well. And then occasionally I'll get a hot flush, but I just know that it's because I've actually been doing too much. And sometimes that doing too much isn't necessarily a bad thing. Maybe I've done, I do a lot of hikes. So, you know, sometimes if I've done a 10, 12 kilometre hike, which is very physically challenging to the body, then I might have a couple of hot flushes after that. And that's just because the body's readjusting itself. But I know what happens now, so I know how to manage that. The other thing I said that makes a really big difference to the way you feel is the way your liver works. Now, people might think, well, what's this got to do with it? Well, the liver is very, very important when it comes to hormonal health, because it's within the liver that hormones are created. So the chemical structure of hormones is created, and also when they're broken down and released. Now, this is the other thing that many women, once they get to menopause, are also struggling with, is their liver is not the best. It's not functioning at its optimal. Now, it doesn't mean that there's liver disease, but it's not functioning at its optimal level, and that's due to many things. One is, you know, that glass of wine that you have every single night to calm down because you're so stressed. All of the chemicals that we have that bombard our body, the food that we eat, all of this puts a stress on our liver, and when our liver's stressed, it can't do its job properly. And as I said, the body will always focus on the high level, high needs functions first. So with the liver, you know, it's going to focus on detoxifying the body and getting rid of the worst chemicals rather than the hormonal byproducts. That's not as essential. It's important that it gets rid of the poisons in the body before it looks at the hormonal component of it, of clearing the excess hormones and creating the new hormones that we require. So the body only works to its resources. If it's got limited resources, it will always focus on life-saving functions, and everything else starts to go to the side, and that's when we start to get symptoms. Now, interestingly, we actually don't experience any symptoms that we're aware of in anything, not just in menopause, until we have about 40 to 50% dysfunction within the body. Before that, the body can actually cope. It's so great at being able to change the way it functions, so you actually don't know that the body's not working at its best. So liver plays a really big role. Now, if you have ever had night sweats, or find that you're struggling to stay asleep, or you keep waking up between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., I'll tell you that is the liver. That's the liver, because in Chinese medicine, there's a circadian rhythm, and different organs do their job or do their work. I'm trying to make this really simple at certain times, and between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. is liver time. So if you've ever been out and had a big night of drinking and all of that, you will find that when you come home that you wake up between 1 and 3, because that's when the liver does the peak of its detoxification. And if there's a lot of chemicals, a lot of poisons in the body, the liver actually wakes you up because it's doing all of this work trying to get rid of, break everything down. Now the sun's coming out, so it's shining over my eyes. So the one thing, and I said before that the only time I ever get night sweats is if I have a glass of wine with dinner. Now, I rarely drink, so I don't drink very often. You know, I might have one glass of wine, maximum one glass of wine a week, sometimes not even that. But I know that if I've had a glass of wine, that I will wake up, and I'll wake up just after 1 o'clock. just after 1 a.m, breaking out in sweat. And then after that, I'll struggle to fall back to sleep for a little while. So it always happens after I've had any type of alcohol. So the liver is important, and I've done a bit of liver work to make sure that my liver is now functioning properly, and I've made a few changes in my life so that it's not being impacted as much. And I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute, some of the things that you can do. So key things we need to be looking at when it comes to minimizing your symptoms is the health of your adrenal glands and the health of your liver. Now, how do we do this? We look at first diet. What is the type of foods that you're eating? We need to be really looking at a diet which is made up of real food that came from God, or food that came from nature. That's the food that your body requires to function, to be at its best health, not food that was made in a factory by some chemist. So we've got to be looking at real food. Now, whether or not we're talking about paleo diets, vegan diets, vegetarian diets, whatever the craze of the diet is at the moment, the keto diet, and I personally do paleo keto, but it really depends on your body. That doesn't work for everybody. If we start with working on real food, let's just get real food into your diet, and then from there we work out what your body requires. Now, this is something that we do in the Embrace program, which I'll be talking to you about a little bit over this week, where you work with a naturopath to find out the right foods for you. We start you on a liver cleansing diet to just to basically support your liver, and then we'll work out the best diet that works for you, for your body. And it's about tapping into you listening to what your body requires. Some people do require a little bit more carbohydrate than others, but good healthy fats are always good. Good proteins are good, and then for some people, depending on the amount of carbs, depends on their body as to where they need to be. And look, and I really think that a little bit of carb actually isn't too bad. It really depends on how your thyroid is functioning, so that plays a bit of a role as well. So number one, look at your diet, and is there places where you can clean it up? Now, ideally you'd be looking at organic food, but you can't always afford organic. So where you can, if you can afford organic, there's some things, and if you go to the EWG website, hi Janine, how are you? It's called ewg.org, I think, and there's a top 10 things that foods to avoid that are highly sprayed. And so if you just even went for those ones, that they're the ones that are organic and everything else is non-organic, that would be fine. And really, it's really looking at, so things like broccoli, because it's got that head of flowers, ideally you have that organic. If you can't afford a fully organic diet, go broccoli, do organic, because it gets sprayed, the spray goes onto the flowers. Same as things like strawberries, all of the spray goes onto the fruit, and we eat it. So just if food's got a thick skin on it that you remove, it doesn't need to be organic. But some foods are highly sprayed. Coffee is highly sprayed, cotton is highly sprayed, kale is highly sprayed, strawberries, a lot of your berries are, and particularly as you're eating the flesh. You can wash them, so rinsing them in apple cider vinegar and water. You can rinse them, which will help to clear some of the pesticides off, and then you can eat them. And you rinse them off so you don't have an apple cider vinegar taste. But that's a really good way just to clean some of your fruit. So your things like your apples and things like that, just wash them and to get any pesticides if you're not doing organic. So look at diet, organic where you can afford it. If you're looking at meats, good quality. If you can't afford organic, please just go free range, grass fed. And we go into a lot more of this in the Embrace program as to why these specific things. Chickens in Australia do not have hormones in them. It's illegal, but they are pumped full of antibiotics. So if you can do free range chicken, you can't afford organic. But try and don't be so dependent on so much animal protein. Move to also looking at some of the plant-based proteins as well. Now, I am actually a meat eater. I love meat, but I do have to make sure that I get a lot more plants into my diet as well, so I focus on that as well. The next thing is lifestyle. And this really is a lot to do with the way that your body handles stress. Sleep, above all, if I was to say if there was one single thing that you could do that could change the way that you feel, it would be making sure that you get enough sleep. And I'm actually thinking of doing a full webinar on sleep because it's just such a big topic. We as a society seem to celebrate working hard and not getting enough sleep, and we're chronically under rested. We all need more sleep. Women in particular need more sleep. It impacts our hormones so much. And then obviously then you put into the equation that if you do get to sleep, that if you happen to be waking up with night sweats and all of that, then that breaks your sleep. And insomnia is very, very common at this time of life as well. So that's why I'm thinking that I might actually do a full webinar on sleep one night. So if anyone thinks that they would be really interested in learning more about how to get a good night's sleep, let me know. And in the next couple of weeks, I'll look at putting that webinar on, because I think it's something that it's so important, yet we struggle to get a good night's sleep. And I know that there's times I struggle to get a good night's sleep as well. But sleep is important. Other things we're looking to environment is we look at or lifestyle, movement. Now, it doesn't have to be formal exercise, but just getting up and moving. The body needs to move, and particularly if you are if you're hi Zena, I've got Zena's just come in. Hello. If you're starting to get a little bit stiff and struggle to get up and it's a bit achy, you need to move. The body needs to move, and making sure you've got plenty of really good fats into in your diet will help. That will kind of lubricate all of those joints as well. So even if it's a walk, whatever it is you enjoy doing, you don't have to be going out there and running 10 kilometers. That's not my thing. I used to run, I don't run anymore. I've had too many injuries. I don't do yoga because I've got issues with my hips, but if you love yoga, do yoga. I personally just love to walk. I've got lots of bush where I live here, as you can probably see behind me, so I just love to walk, or I go on the beach. So just move. The body is designed to move, so find a way to move every single day. And if you can also ground, and grounding is just getting bare feet on the earth, it will make you feel so much better. We've been in winter here. So it's been a bit cold, so I know that I've been walking around in shoes a lot, but every time I get the opportunity, I go down the beach, bare feet on the sand, in the water, even if it's freezing cold, just ground. It just energizes you. So these are some of the things that you can do to help you feel better. And when you do that, it actually lowers the stress, lowers the cortisol, which means that your symptoms, which are being affected by the stress and the cortisol, will go down. So it's all tied in together. There's no one single answer. This is all tied together because your body is it's part of nature. It's part of a big circle. What else have we got? Environment. So when we're looking at the environment, look at things around you that may be putting a toxic load on your body, and where you can control it, control it. Go and look in your pantry. Now, the worksheet that I've got for today is basically a checklist where you can go and go to your pantry and go through and see what type of foods have you got in there, and if you've got foods in there which are packaged, and you look at the ingredient list and it's this long and it looks like a chemical nightmare, don't eat it, because your body doesn't need that. It needs something that basically, you can look at, it doesn't have an ingredients list because it's an apple, or it's only got 1 or 2 ingredients and you know what they are. So go and check your pantry out, see if there's things in there that maybe you could be getting rid of. Now you can just, as you replace your food, just put different foods in there. You don't have to dump everything straight away. Also look at your cosmetics. Cosmetics are highly full of lots of different toxins and chemicals, and as I said, the ewg.org website gives you lots of information. They've got a section called Skin Deep where you can go in and actually check your cosmetics to see how much toxins they've got in them. A lot of things like lipsticks and things like that are full of lead, and women are putting that on their lips all the time, and it's on their lips, it goes into their mouths, and they're actually getting lead. All of this puts loads of onto your liver and onto your body. Also look at your personal care products as well, and the things that you could be changing rather than using these soaps that have got these micro beads and all these things in it, all these chemicals in it, and there's sodium SLS and all of this. Can we go to some more natural stuff? Now, I meant to have it with me, but I haven't. But there's a book, a really great book called Low Tox Living by Alex Stewart. And she's got so much stuff in it about how you can reduce toxicity in your life. So highly recommend that. Once again, this is something we go into in a fair bit of detail in the Embrace program, where we take you through and look at exactly what's going on and where we can change some things easily in your life. You don't have to change everything, but what things can you change so that your liver's getting less of a load, which means it can then process the hormones and you can actually reduce your symptoms. So in the worksheet, I've gone through and they've just made a checklist. Go through your personal care, go through your cleaning products, go through all what you've got there, and just see, are there 3 things that you could do to actually reduce the toxic load on your body and in your life. And if you can find 3 things that you're committed to doing, why not then come into the group and post them here in the group and say, look, this is what I'm okay with giving up, and I'm going to replace it with this. Just use the hashtag Thrive in Menopause so that we can all join in and we can encourage you and help you. And now, if you're not sure how you're going to replace products, just ask. I'll be in the group. I'm in and out of the group most of the day. Other people can help you as well. Let's just work on this together. Let's make a big difference in all of our lives together. So that's most of what I was going to go through today. Now, if you've got any questions, please just pop them here just under the post, and I'll answer the questions for you. But the main part of what I want to talk to you about today is what you can start to do to start reduce some of these symptoms that you're probably experiencing as you're going through this menopause stage of life. So the key things is we start with, what are the foods we're eating? Where can we change? How can we nourish our body with really good, nutritious food? Number 2 is, how can we support our liver? And by supporting our liver, that's looking at, where the excess load is going on, because the liver actually plays a really big role in the way your hormones are working. So if we can find a way to reduce the stress on your liver, then it will be able to do its job, and it'll be able to create the hormones that are required. It'll be able to clear the hormones that it doesn't require, and it can keep the balance going so that you're not experiencing the symptoms. Now, I did mention alcohol. I'm not saying give up forever. I'm not saying you have to totally give up alcohol, but maybe have a little bit of a rest. Maybe look at how much you are drinking, or just start to notice that when you do drink, what happens at night time when it comes to night sweats and being able to sleep. And start to see if you can see the connection between having a glass of wine or whatever it is, any type of alcohol, and how that impacts the way that you feel. Because I think if you can actually make that connection yourself, then it becomes a choice. And as I said, I drink wine occasionally, but I also know that I'm probably not going to have the best night's sleep, and I'm probably going to wake up with night sweats. But I'm actually okay with that, because I enjoy sitting around having a glass of wine with friends. And I think we've got to make this work for us. We've got to make. I'm not a big on the word balance, but we've got to find harmony. We've got to find a way where we can, because having dinner with friends and a glass of wine is less stressful than the guilt that comes with it. So socializing is a great way to reduce your stress, so long as you don't feel guilty. As soon as you feel guilty, you're stressed, and then if you've been drinking, you put the load on your liver, so then we've just had a double whammy, and your symptoms are going to be worse. So have a look at that. Any questions, please put them under the post, or just post them in the group later on today, for those of you who are watching the video. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about, I'm actually going to share with you some specific herbs and nutrients to manage specific symptoms. So that's what day 3 is all about. So I'm just going to give you some of the herbs that we use that manage specific symptoms, and also I'll talk about some of the nutrients, and I'll throw in a few essential oils as well for those of you who are into essential oils. So you can find ways to manage things as you're making changes to reduce all of the symptoms in your life. So that's it from me today. Don't seem to have any questions come up. If I do, just put them in there, and later in the day I'll come in and I'll answer them for you. So hopefully that was useful for you. Clouds have come back over the sun, so the warmth's gone. So I'm going to finish up because it's getting a little bit cold here. But I'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. tomorrow. From my heart to yours, infinite love and gratitude. Bye for now.